British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon. Here are your 2:30 news headlines. I'm Bahar Garian. Constitutional experts say a vote in Alberta to separate from Canada would pitch the country into unexplored territory on everything from money to First Nations and national parks. Moves by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith have recently made it easier for questions to be brought up to a referendum. Alberta's noisy separatist movement has since become a major topic of conversation, and Smith says she would honor citizens' ability to answer the question. She says a referendum could come as soon as next year. Law professor Eric Adams says a vote to sever ties with Canada would put the country into unknown territory, both politically and legally. The Supreme Court of Canada says a vote to separate would send the province and federal government into negotiations. The fate of Alberta's sprawling nation parks, its currency, and First Nations' place in negotiations all became major pawns in the discussions Adams says adversaries like Russia and China would potentially try to capitalize on the moment of instability. Mental Health Week Hayden Stewart. This year, May 5th to 11th is Mental Health Week in Canada. Reporter Hayden Stewart learned more.
For many people, mental health can be a long battle. Many suffer in silence due to the stigma around the subject. This week is supposed to bring awareness to the struggles people go through and to make people comfortable about speaking up. Riddhi Batra, a therapist in BC, spoke on the misconceptions about mental health.
It's the idea that therapy is only for crisis. That's the misconception. That you have to get to the end to be able to say, oh, I need help. You can start getting help anytime you want.
Mental health is not just a week-long issue. Resources like the Canadian Mental Health Association are available to everyone year-round. Hayden Stewart, BCIT News.
Now I'm here with Hayden live, and I'm just going to ask him a couple questions. So Hayden, other than seeking professional help, what are some other ways people can improve their mental health?
Yeah, Bahar. Well, definitely seeking professional help is the first thing you should do if you find yourself struggling. But other things that you can do include some calm breathing exercises or even meditation. Speaking with your family or close friends can also help. And, just kind of doing the hobbies you enjoy or even going for a walk are ways of trying to improve your mental health.
I see. And how did Mental Health Week in Canada become such a thing?
Yeah, well, it was first established by the Canadian Mental Health Association in 1951 and was created to raise awareness about mental health issues and reduce the stigma around it. But also over time, it's grown to, larger to include more specific things like workplace mental health, youth mental health, and the importance for empathy and support.
Thank you, Hayden. An
Thank you.
AI-generated version of a murder victim has addressed an Arizona court case on its own.
Christopher Pelkey was killed, shot to death in a road rage incident in Chandler, Arizona in 2021. But at his sentencing hearing for the killer, his family was able to bring Christopher back to life in voice and video to speak directly to the judge.
To Your Honor, Judge Lang.
In the AI-generated video, he even expressed forgiveness to his killer.
In another life, we probably could have been friends.
The judge was moved by what he heard and saw.
I love that AI.
The judge giving Christopher's killer over 10 years in prison. Alex Stone, EBC News.
U.S. President Donald Trump is reacting to the election of the first American pope in the history of the Catholic Church.
President Trump posting on social media his congratulations to the new pope, Pope Leo XIV. The president writing, quote, "It is such an honor to realize he is the first American pope. What excitement and what a great honor for our country." The president says he looks forward to meeting Pope Leo and says it will be a very meaningful moment. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
A former model has testified that Harvey Weinstein sexually assaulted her when she was 16 years old. She recalled that it was truthfully the most horrifying thing she had experienced to that point. Kaha Sokolo told Jurors at Weinstein's Me Too retrial on Thursday that the ex-movie producer had reached under her clothing and asked her to perform acts she did not consent to. Weinstein is not charged with any crime in connection with the alleged assault. Sokola is testifying because Weinstein is charged with forcing oral sex on her at a Manhattan hotel 4 years later. Weinstein has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges and denies sexually assaulting anyone. Kendrick Lamar is the leading nominee for next month's BET Awards. The rap megastar earned 10 nominations, including an Album of the Year for his highly acclaimed GNX project, his accusing diss track, Not Like Us, emanating from the Drake feud. The last track received nominations for Video of the Year and Viewer's Choice Award. Doechii, Drake, Future, and Glorilla tied from the second most nominations with 6. Metro Boomin pulled in 5 nods, while SZA and The Weeknd each scored 4. The awards will air live on June 9th from the Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. Here's a clip of Lamar's Drake diss track, Not Like Us.
Trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor. They not like us. 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 They not like us.
Moving on, White House proposes doing something about the outdated U.S. air traffic control system in the wake of recent crashes. The Trump administration has proposed a major overhaul of the U.S. air traffic control system in the wake of recently deadly plane crashes and technical failures that have put a spotlight in the outdated network. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the plan calls for 6 new air traffic control centers, along with technology and communication upgrades at all of the nation's air traffic facility over the next 3 years. How much will it all cost wasn't immediately revealed. Officials wanted to add fiber, wireless, and satellite technology at more than 4,600 locations, replace 600 radars, and increase the number of airports with systems designed to reduce near misses on runways. After taking a year off, organizers at the county's most prominent Indigenous film festival say they are moving ahead with a belated 25th anniversary. The Imaginative Film Media Arts Festival opens at Toronto's TIFF Lightbox on June 3rd with Endless Cookie, an animated documentary about a pair of half-brothers, one Indigenous and one white. The film festival returns after it scraped plans for its 2024 edition. The movie included shifting its scheduled run season to coincide with Indigenous Peoples Month. Organizers say the year's overreaching theme centers on seed keeping and the passing down of seeds to the next generation. The 2025 edition runs from June 3rd to 8th in Toronto, with an online component runs from June 9th to 15th. Imagine Native is pegged as the most renowned Indigenous film festival to ever be run. This weekend, Vancouver's Parentless Club is hosting Motherless Day. Reporter Leah Warren has more on how the social group is reclaiming a day that might be hard for some others to celebrate.
The Parentless Club is a social group established by 2 women who lost their mothers too young. The group aims to provide parentless people with a community who gets it. Nikki Lewis, one of the co-founders, explains that Mother's Day can be overwhelming when you don't have a mother to celebrate it with, and how the Parentless Club hopes to combat this feeling.
So instead of logging off and hiding away from the world, like a lot of us typically do, we thought, why wouldn't we throw ourselves a gathering to reclaim that day and rewrite the script on how we experience Mother's Day?
Lewis adds that there is no one way to grieve and that support is always available. Leah Warren, BCIT News.
I'm here with Leah right now, and I'm just going to ask her a few questions. What can participants expect at the Motherless Day event?
Yeah, so people can expect to eat lots of snacks and do crafts and have people to talk to. Like Nikki Lewis said, it's kind of just a day making a dark day feel a bit lighter.
Definitely. And is there any advice to give to those people who are grieving the loss of a parent?
Yeah, Lewis suggested that you can listen to their favorite song, go to their favorite spot, or write them a letter. It's kind of just whatever makes you feel more connected to them, and there's definitely not a wrong way to grieve.
Perfect. And Moving on, we have the weather for the rest of the day is cloudy with a slight gust of wind, and we're looking at rain for most of the weekend. Thanks for listening to your news at 2:30. I'm Bahar Garian.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Good afternoon. Welcome to BCIT's The Crow. I'm Graciela Cruz Flores, and these are your sports headlines at 2:45. For a 3-1 win, the Canucks have a 2-1 lead in the series. They are one game away from having a chance to clinch a spot in the Pacific Division Final against the Colorado Eagles. Game 4 will be in the Abbotsford Events Center Friday at 7. In the NHL playoffs, the Washington Capitals will host the Carolina Hurricanes tonight for Game 2 of their best-of-7 series. Carolina won Game 1 2-1 on overtime. Despite the close result, the Capitals were drastically shut out. Capitals forward Tom Wilson says the whole game didn't feel like their kind of hockey.
Yeah, I think Game 1 just didn't feel like our game. It didn't feel, even right from the start, even when we were leading, even whatever, it just didn't feel like Caps hockey. So I think the focus for tonight is on our level of compete, our level, our pace of play.
Puck drop is set for 4 o'clock tonight. The Sidney Crosby and Nathan MacKinnon are back together for Canada at the Ice Hockey Worlds after 10 years. The two major stars are in Europe for Friday's tournament, opening in Sweden and Denmark. This will be the final international test before the 2026 Italy Winter Olympics. After 12 years, NHL players will return to the Olympics after a dispute between the league and the International Olympic Committee over travel costs. The last time Crosby and MacKinnon were in Canadian red was at the Four Nations in February. In the PWHL, the Toronto Scepters playoff opener with the Minnesota Frost was last night. Scepters rookie Julia Gosling scored twice in her playoff debut. Gosling says she was put in a great spot to help her team.
Yeah, it was really exciting, and it's my first 5-on-5 goal, but definitely just the way we were playing and the way our lines were changing, I think it just put me in a great spot to get that opportunity and then just use my shot. So it was just super fun to get that done at home.
Game 2 of the best-of-5 semifinal series is this Friday. And former CFL coach Paul Lapolis has a new coaching gig. Lapolis was named head coach of the Canadian men's national flag football team today. Lapolis has over 20 years of pro coaching experience, most recently working as a football analyst with TSN. He served as a head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers back in 2010 and the Ottawa Red Blacks in 2020. Flag football will be part of the Olympics in its debut in 2028 Los Angeles Games. In Formula One, former Formula One team boss Otmar Safnar says Formula One needs a 12th team and he wants to be the guy in charge. Safnar argues that there's definitely enough space for 12 teams on the grid. However, considering how long it took Cadillac, the newest team on grid for 2026, to find the right strategy for them, it looks more than unlikely the FIA will be quick to approve another team. But that hasn't stopped Safnar from pulling back on his own approach to a new addition in the near future. And in soccer, there will be an all-English final for the Europa League. Manchester United and Tottenham had powerhoused their respective aggregates. Manchester United winning over Atletico de Bilbao in the first leg 3-0, and in the second 4-1, finishing the aggregate 6-1. Bilbao losing their chances of playing at home for the final. Tottenham against the Norwegian team Boda Glimt won their first leg 3-1 and finished off today 2-0 with an aggregate of 5-1. Manchester United and Tottenham will face each other May 22nd at the San Mamés Stadium in Spain. The UEFA Champions League final will be in Munich this year, with Paris Saint-Germain and Inter Milan as the unlikely participants. This will be a Champions League final few could have predicted. PSG and Inter Milan weren't among the favorites earlier this season. This week, PSG and Milan won both their respective matches, Inter Milan stunning a young FC Barcelona team and PSG shooting down Arsenal's Champions League final dreams. If you enjoyed this podcast, stay tuned for 3:15. This has been your sports headlines at 2:45. I'm Graciela Cruz Flores at BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane.